Well, another former Cowboy player comes out and speaks about life of being a Cowboy. Does draw a bad look for the Cowboys organization. But what's going on, guys? My name is Antonio, and this is the AAS All Around Sports. I'm your host, Antonio. Today, we are going over the Dallas Cowboys, Dalton Schultz, former Cowboy player Dalton Schultz that was with the Cowboys 5 years ago, for 5 years, has spoken out on the Pat McAfee show about his experience of being a Dallas Cowboy. I got a writing of his entire discussion saying, in his words, there's people literally going on tours while you're lifting in the weight room, and they've got look like they've got a one-way mirror for people to look at. It's a zoo. There's people tapping on the glass trying to get a player's attention, and as they're doing power cleans or whatnot. There's the brand. That's the brand that they've built. That's what Jerry Jones likes. That's the way that they run things, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you don't realize how many eyeballs and how much that can distract from stuff just in a locker room being in a facility. Until you go somewhere else and you're like, holy shit, dude, there's none of that. This is also a real well-run organization in Houston. I think that was one of the things that kind of scared me about leaving Dallas. The most is I wasn't sure what other organization would kind of feel like. And dude, I got here and I was like, this place is a well-oiled machine. But the question being, was Dalton Schultz's comments on the Cowboys a bad look for the Cowboys organization? We're going to be going over that. But before we get into the topic, as you all know, I'm a Seahawks fan. Just updated my little set here recently. Got a little few of the hats behind me. I got a few things recently for my birthday. Using my birthday money I spent. So to kind of upgrade my set. So for now, let's get this thing started. So I do think this is a bad look for the Dallas Cowboys because not only was what he said true, because people do go on lots of tours in Jerry's world, as he likes to call it, as many people like to call it, but it kind of shows you the pressure that mounts on this organization because they're a $9 billion franchise. No other franchise has a $9 billion franchise because it's of the star on their helmet. And when you got that star on your helmet, there's going to be a lot of eyes looking at it, and then also people wanting to hunt it down and target it. Because people like myself cannot stand the Cowboys. Now I don't respect I don't have any hate for the players. It's their fans I can't stand because Dallas Cowboy fans, if you're watching this, with all due respect, your fan base is the literal definition of delusionality. And I just from what I've seen from, I was doing a little bit of watching of the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl when they won. Could you imagine what would happen in Dallas if they won a Super Bowl? They would be tearing down streets. They would be rioting like heck. Because they've wanted it for years. And they're not going to get it. Imagine if they won a Super Bowl. They would go on just like Philly. They would riot down the streets of Dallas. They would tear apart their city. Just to give respect to their Cowboys. And I'm not sure I really want to see that because of what I saw from the Philadelphia Eagle fans. And I know Cowboy fans are much more crazier than Philadelphia Eagle fans. But enough about that. But what I'm trying to say here is, with all the, like Dalton Schultz said, with all those eyeballs, it's going to build pressure. And that's the main key issue. The expectations, the pressure. Because the Cowboys are the most looked at team on ESPN. They're talked about being Super Bowl contenders. They're being NFC Championship favorites. They're yeah. But that pressure only mounts. Let's look at the last few playoff losses. I've looked at every single playoff loss since the 2000s. They've lost to the Seahawks in the Tony Romo fumble on the field goal situation. They've lost to the Minnesota Vikings twice in blowouts in the playoffs. They got beat by the G-Men in the playoffs in the divisional round, which eventually led them to winning the Super Bowl. They got beat by the Packers 2 straight years with that bad man, Aaron Rodgers, which one of them was a controversial ending with the Dez Caudic game, but none of us pretty much cared. And then the following year, it's in Dallas. Divisional round, Aaron Rodgers gets the ball last, drives down the field, kicks a game-winning field goal. No matter what this team does in the regular season, it's always about what they do in the playoff time. It's always the playoffs. And they need to show up in the playoffs. They got to show up. And the fact of the matter is, they have not in the last 29 years. The Texans, I actually looked up a recent stat here. The Texans have more playoff wins than the Dallas Cowboys since 2002, which was when they beat Dallas in their debut as the Texans. Which, look it up, people. Look it up, as Ken Jeong would say on Masked Singer. Look it up. But the Texans have more playoff victories than the Cowboys alone. Since 2020, not 2020, since 2002. And the Texans, they're right now more built than the Cowboys, in my opinion, because CJ Stroud can ball, and actually one of the games that is actually set for next year, from what I looked at the Cowboys' opponents, because we all know the team's opponents are set, we just don't know the schedule. One of the opponents they're set to face in their home is the Houston Texans. And I'm just saying it right now, if Dalton Schultz and CJ Stroud come into Dallas and absolutely annihilate them, then that's a draw of concern in seeing if letting go of Dalton Schultz was the right option for you. But the Cowboys, I've said it ever since I started about a year ago. I started at the beginning of the season of last year. This Cowboys team, re-look at them. They are just always a choke waiting to happen. They have a culture of choking come playoff time. They have a culture of choking in the playoffs. They've lost 13 straight playoff appearances. 13! And you would think by now they would be in an NFC Championship or a Super Bowl. Well, they haven't. Because they don't have many players on their side that have Super Bowl level quality. And now that you got Dan Quinn with your division rival, the Commanders, which is still a corny name by the way, now your defensive coordinator job is off the roof. Because you don't know who's going to be the next defensive coordinator. You were ranked top 10 defense in the National Football League, supposedly because you were beating all these terrible last place teams throughout the year. And you cannot tell me that if you're Dallas, having 13 straight playoff appearances, you cannot tell me that you cannot bring a Super Bowl home in that time span. Hell, you haven't even made it past the divisional round. You haven't even made it past there in the last 29 years. And yet the Niners have the longest Super Bowl drought than you. and they've been to 3. And my point being is this. Just wait. Remain composed. No matter how good they seem to be, no matter how good they might look, whenever the expectations are at the high, like Dalton Schultz said, with all the eyeballs watching in the building during their power lifts, they always come crashing down, like every single year. But anyways, that's my topic for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on the notification bell for day-to-day updates on my videos and live streams. And I'll catch you all in the next one. So long for now.